Everybody, welcome to the IAIB Spotlight. I'm Andrew Zarian, and today I'm joined by someone that's been on the show a couple times, actually. Brian, how many times have we done this?
You know, I think this might be only the second time we've done IAIB. You know, I've appeared on a couple of your other things, and of course, we've had you on NSFW. We're like ships passing in the night, you and I. We're comrades at arms.
We just jump over each other's ship and hope for the best. I mean, that's pretty much what happens.
Each other's ship. Yeah, that's correct.
Today's also Brian's birthday, so I want everybody in the chat room watching live to wish Brian a happy birthday.
Yeah, dude, a lot of famous birthdays. It's me. I mean, I'm not the famous one, but Betty White, Ben Franklin, Michelle Obama, Revision 3 co-founder, David Prager, Brett the Amtrekker Rounceville, and Jammer B, who works over at TWiT. So it's like the whole world has a birthday today.
The only person that I know that shares the same birth date as me is Dennis Rodman. That's actually the only one that I know of. That
Dennis Rodman business has been hilarious to watch. Somebody proposed to me that he thought that the reason he was so weird was because he was terrified about being able to come home in that interview. But then somebody pointed out, like, no, he's just a drunk a-hole.
Talk about somebody unravel in front of you.
Yeah,
I mean, no, it's nutty. Weird. What do you expect? I mean, the guy was dyeing his hair for years, and you know. So all the chemicals probably seeped in after the years of just dyeing it a bizarre color.
I mean, but also he's somebody who built his brand on being talented at basketball and outrageous. And then once you're no longer in the NBA, it's a little more difficult to, I don't know, to maintain that outrageous brand.
Absolutely.
And have basketball. He's a weird.
Talk about weird. There's a lot of weird stuff happening with like mainstream media. Like that's a prime focus if you think about it. Like out of all the things that we are covering in mainstream media, that it was the big story for like 3 days that Dennis Rodman had a meltdown on CNN.
Yeah.
And you do something fascinating. You've been doing a show for a while with Tom Merritt. It was Frame Rate on TWiT. Now you guys have taken the show independent, and it is the anti-mainstream media type of coverage. I mean, you guys talk about cutting the cord, and the show's called Cordkillers, and I want to talk to you today about that because you're doing so many fascinating things, regardless of the content, because let me just say, it is probably my favorite podcast to listen to right now. And I'm not just saying that to you.
No, well, I appreciate it. And what's funny is, we didn't set out, when it first started, the whole thing began because Tom was like, hey, I want to do a show about movies, television, and viral videos or stuff. And I like you, Brian. Let's do a show together. I'm like, great. So at first, like, if you look at the early episodes, it's clear that we're trying to like cover kind of fanboy news. But that's a very crowded space. You have your IO9s and all of your other places where geek culture, entertainment is covered. But the stories that kept popping up are all these stories about like Netflix and about people who are cutting the cord and ways to say screw you to the cable monopolies and all that. And I guess, and weirdly, we were 3 years ahead of the movement gaining much steam. But over time, it became clear. It's like, wow, man, people really resonate with these stories that involve cutting the cord. And so when we decided to go independent, we talked about calling it like cord cutters or whatever, because even that term isn't very well known. But for some reason, I was annoyed that was so wishy-washy. It wasn't punk rock enough. And so and I called them. I'm like, what about Cordkillers? And we're like, yeah. And so we're still figuring out exactly the graphic bumps and the character of the show is coming through pretty quick. But man, am I happy with the response we've gotten and the legitimacy of the story. People really dig hearing about these news stories and hearing about the earthquake that is happening to old media, because nobody likes their cable company. Nobody likes the cable bill. Nobody likes the distribution model of cable companies. The content providers don't like it. The consumers don't like it. Everybody wants direct from the artist to the consumer. And that's what this movement is all about. And it's cool because we could talk about the arty side of things and what we're excited about. House of Cards is one of the best dramas I've seen in my adult lifetime.
Absolutely, yeah.
It was straight to Netflix. So, we get to be excited and we get to preserve that fanboy aspect. Game of Thrones, of course, is always a story because it's also a even better show, but it's trapped behind the paywall. And HBO is obstinate about refusing to let episodes be sold in a timely manner. You know, a lot of these shows like your Breaking Bads or your Walking Deads would have the episode available next morning for purchase, but HBO doesn't do that because they're very much married to the old model.
But what's fascinating behind the show, regardless of the content, because the content is stellar, it really, this is something that I talk to people all the time about, the whole cutting the cord aspect to getting media. I got two younger brothers. They're both in their early 20s, and these are people that do not have cable. They don't care to watch anything on cable. They have their Netflix, and they got YouTube, and that is enough. But you are also part of this movement with what you're doing. You are also part of the cord cutting movement because your show is an independent broadcast, and you're doing, you know, really high quality stuff, and you're putting it out.
Well, and part of that is the massive, think about this. There's never been a time in the history of media where there was a shorter gap between someone who had a message and the ability to, in a ground leveling quality of presentation, get it out to the entire world. And, you know, it's a sweet spot. And plus, you know, when we decided to launch Cordkillers, we didn't even know what our revenue model was going to be. We just knew that we wanted to keep getting the word out and do our silly dance. And this is the big deal is, you know, we have a little bit of infrastructure here. You know, my studio has got 2 or 3 cameras, a couple of computers, 3 if you count a laptop, some decent mics, and a decent broadband connection. But obviously, so the overhead isn't a lot, but we have to make some kind of money. And normally, what you have to do is you have to establish a fan base, get a whole bunch of numbers, and then either go out and hustle sales yourself or go to someone like PodTrack and say, I'm really super popular. Will you please sell ads for me? And around this time, I got in touch with Anthony over at Patreon. And Patreon is a new service. It was created by Jack Conte, half of Pomplamoose. Do you know them?
Yeah.
So Jack Conte was like, he figured out that YouTube's revenue distribution model is crap. And like there's just no money in YouTube. Even if you have a runaway hit, they send you a check for a couple $1,000s and that's the end of it. So it's not enough for artists to live and thrive and survive doing their stuff on YouTube.
But you're also, I mean, on top of that, you're kind of at the mercy of YouTube, right? God forbid they decide that you did something that violated that terms of service that they have. You're finished. Yeah. You're done. And once they cut you, you're done.
Sure. Well, and there's also talk about like they're squirrely about anyone doing in-show sponsorships. You know, like their thing is like, hey man, if you're a partner, our job is to raise the money for you, and now you're off selling your own ads on your own stuff. And you know, right now they haven't moved too hard, but I've heard rumblings that they might be about to lay down the hammer and say no more ads on any partner shows. The most you could do is have paid product placements in there. So
at GFQ, we lost our partnership with YouTube because of that.
What, really?
Yeah.
Because you have ads in there. And so you elected to just say, well, then I won't be a partner then.
We never put an ad on any of our videos through YouTube. We became a partner and we never monetized any of it because we knew that they're kind of weird about double dipping in that sense, right? To have ads that you're placing and then their ads. So we never did it. And this went on for like a good year. And then one day we just got a letter saying we violated the terms of service with their ad revenue.
That's amazing. And I'll tell you what, like YouTube, not the most friendly establishment to try to have a phone call with. No. You know, like, you know, their customer support is nil, and to get anything done, you got to go through endless pages. In fact, my personal YouTube account is still not in good standing. I'm not allowed to stream off of it because like I don't know, a bunch of my videos which were not monetized. Like I acknowledged copyright claims, like, yeah, that's not my music, you know, whatever, just the same as all these do. But for some reason, some trigger got switched and there's literally no way I can fix it. And I don't know anyone at YouTube that has the ability to directly handle it. I guess, I mean, I'm talking to a couple of people, but they're both like, yeah, no, I'll get on that. And then nothing happens.
Yeah, I mean, I want to talk about the distribution aspect. I definitely want to touch on that. But I want to talk to you about how you're monetizing this, because you're not current. I mean, right now, never say never, but you're right. You're not going to PodTrack and saying, okay, I know that this is going to be a hit of a show. I know we're going to be able to get X amount of viewers. It kind of fits your model. Give us money and we'll do live reads. You're not taking that approach currently. You're actually crowdfunding the entire thing.
Right, but it's a different type of crowdfunding, and to me, it's a much more important type of crowdfunding, because normally what people do, they're like, I want to do blank, and so they do a Kickstarter, and you get a crap ton of money all at once for the Kickstarter, and then you launch something. Jeff Kanata's new show, Newest, Latest, Best. That's how he funded the launch of it. And obviously for his show, there's a substantial amount of overhead. He needs to get assets, have motion graphics, and build a set and all that stuff. So it was the right call for that project. But, Cordkillers, like, we already have most of the infrastructure. We'd like to improve everything, but on an ongoing basis. And the most important thing is we didn't want to miss a week. So the way Patreon works is people become patrons of your show, and they pledge a set amount per episode that they will pony up at the end. And it's like once a month, they're like, okay, you said you would pay $1 every time they released a new video. They released 4 videos, so we're just going to charge your credit card $4 on there. And what's awesome about it from a content producer standpoint is you only have to get your fans to engage once. Make the mental decision once. I love him so much, I'm going to support him. And then you put it in, and then what's great is from that point, it becomes a recurring payment. And recurring payments are very sticky. Like for example, I leave recurring payments for stuff I actively hate. Like I hardly ever use Hootsuite anymore.
I was about to say Hootsuite.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had the same exact thing. I've been paying them for months, and I haven't used it.
Exactly, but it's just below. It's just low enough that you're like, I'll get around to it. And then another month goes by or whatever. But imagine if, even if you weren't using Hootsuite, you felt like you knew the guys at Hootsuite and you really supported what they were up to. Even if you didn't use it, every time you saw that on the bill, instead of being annoyed and mad, you'd feel kind of good. You're like, man, I'm supporting something, And so and you're like, I'll get around to watching the back episodes, or at the very least, you're like, I like knowing that there's more of this art or news or whatever it is out there. So I think Patreon does a real service. The only bummer about Patreon, and it's a smart thing and a bummer, is that it makes public how well you're doing. And I think that's great because you want social proof. You want to help people meet their goals. But the one thing that's off is that Patreon, and I've talked to them about this, and they're coming up with a solution. You can set a maximum per month limit. And the idea being like, well, what if you pledge $1 per video and then someone releases 12,000 videos overnight? Now you're screwed.
Yeah.
So you're just like, well, up to $5 a month or whatever. So because you can set, so someone could theoretically, I assume, set a total, $5 per episode of Cordkillers with a max of $5 per month. And then it's weird because you get this situation where someone looks, they're like, oh, they're doing fine. They're getting this much per episode, when in reality, we get much less. I know that our friends over at rageselect.com were the ones who really got me started on Patreon. Like on paper, I think their pledges are $900 per video, but they do 20 videos per month. And so it ends up, realistically being like $250, $300 per video.
See, I think something like this is phenomenal for podcasters, and I'll tell you why. A lot of people don't fit the mold of getting an advertiser or working with Podtrack or working with whoever. I know a lot of people that get significant numbers. I mean, they do tremendous. They're not the top 10 on iTunes, but they're doing pretty good numbers. But they can't attract an advertiser due to a bunch of reasons, due to the content, or it could be a tech show, and that market is really saturated with tech shows.
Yeah, so that's the thing. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, so what do you do if I'm doing an Audible ad and you're doing an Audible ad, and we kind of have a crossover audience? We're both losing out on this, right? Because they're either going to use mine or yours.
And plus, also, they can only sign up once for Audible, and there are people. This is the other thing that Patreon does is it opens up a revenue model where the benefit from the consumer is directly proportional to the amount they love it. So it's like previously, let's say you kind of liked GFQ and you were crazy super fan of NSFW. Well, then if you buy from Netflix on one and Audible on the other, then you've extracted the same amount of support for both, even though you love one way more.
Absolutely, yeah.
Whereas now it's like their subscriptions are like, you're like, oh, I like NSFW to the tune of, a nickel a show. And by the way, even those little nickel a show things matter. Like you get 20 people throwing in a nickel a show, that's $1, that's $12 a year. It's like that number matters in a big way. But then you're like, oh, but I'm crazy for GFQ. And then I want to give $5, $10 a show. And Yeah, I don't know. I'd say there's something right about that to me, where it's like it takes what was previously wasted capital with your audience and monetizes it in a way that helps support. It makes possible micro operations like ours, being a micro network.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we have a bunch of shows that do pretty well here on GFQ. This is a separate entity. Obviously, this is for the IAIB, but we are competing with each other. And that doesn't make sense to me. That if I take an ad and we have, and I'm sure you've done it at Twit, where, you guys have a Netflix ad all across the board. So now you're competing with each other to an extent.
Right.
And
or we're giving like the general Twit code where everybody, where we don't necessarily get the credit for tracking even internally. Like it does well for Twit, they get the cost per acquisition, but since it's a Twit code, it's like who knows which of the shows was the one that did it. So it might be that the smallest numbered show is the one that was the most lucrative. So which to be honest probably is the case with NSFW. We don't have a big fan base, but they are the loudest fan base that I've ever run across.
I still get people that send me an email every couple weeks saying like, hey, I saw you on NSFW, I saw you on the old episode. So like it's always something. Like I think once you're connected to NSFW, you're always connected.
we're like the mob in that regard.
Yeah.
Trying to get out, we keep pulling you back in.
You got to be killed at to leave.
That's right.
Which is phenomenal. I mean, I love it. And it shows that there's a dedicated audience. And you brought up something interesting. You said even the nickels and the dimes and the quarters count to something, because at the end of the day, it's going to build up. Are you guys thinking about doing stuff like Amazon affiliate links and stuff like that?
So one of the best attitudes on this that I've run across, are you familiar with Dan Carlin, the guy who does Hardcore History and the Common Sense podcast?
Yeah.
Super talented guy, really, really awesome. I got to meet him when I had a show out in Oregon last year. And he says he thinks about his operation like a stool, and you got different legs of the stool. And by doing so, you diversify ways people can support you. And as long as each of those legs, maybe at any given time, one of them may be stronger than the others. But as long as you are diversified, you're good. He does direct donations, which is one leg. He does Amazon affiliate links, and Amazon affiliate links is smart because it doesn't cost anyone else anything more. All it does, and to be honest, like I kind of cringe to think like how much I spend on Amazon and how I have no idea whose code is using, because once somebody clicks on an Amazon affiliate link, for the next 30 days or until they click on a different Amazon affiliate link, everything they buy will go to that guy, which is great. It's great for the content producers. It's great for Amazon. It's great for the consumer because it doesn't cost them anything. And then he also a direct donation, Amazon links. Forgot his other. And sponsors. Once every so often he'll have a ting.com or any one of those audiblepodcast.com. And he had a fourth one, which will come to me shortly. But it all. And selling the old episodes. He sends out the Hardcore History episodes as is for free. And then after they get beyond like 3 months or whatever, they go into the archive where they're available for $1 a show. And like for how cheap that content is, I mean, Hardcore History is essentially a 3-hour audiobook every time he puts one out. And he does it for free with a little ad at the end, and just asks you after the free period is closed to give him 99 cents, $1. Are you kidding me? Yeah, it's. And it seems like he's staying afloat and doing very, very well with that.
Do you think that for many podcasters, it's always been, I'm going to do a show, I'm going to get an audience, and then I'm going to get an advertiser. Do you think we're starting to now in 2014, where this is a maturing market? I think we're at the point where we're kind of understanding how to engage with the audience and what's important when you're looking at numbers. Is it the number or is it the engagement? We have 100 people in our chat room. That's phenomenal. There's 100 people technically engaging with what we're saying. We could have had 20,000 people and nobody's engaging. That's essentially worthless at the end of the day. Are we realizing like, okay, there are different stuff. We could do donations. We could crowdfund. We don't have to sell a product, but we could ask for favors from our audience and they're going to support it because they like what we're doing. Are we at that point?
Yes, to an extent. Here's the way I see the situation is that think about where we were just 5 years ago as social media was new. Now, in fact, let's go back before social media. Let's go back to 10 years ago. the only way for you to know the value of someone's presence, of his connection with his audience, was numbers for like things you've sold. You could say, 10 million copies sold of this book or whatever, or number of live viewers, Nielsen style, which is like it's on television and we know, 8 million people tuned in. So therefore it must be very, very good to invest your ad dollars in. Then we got to the social media side, and all of a sudden that undercut a huge chunk of the value of that stuff, because what did it matter if people were only tuning into HBO in order to watch Louis C.K. and now Louis C.K. is communicating with them directly, and his numbers are huge on the number of subscribers. Then he has powerful leverage is able to do experiments like, releasing his own specials and so on. But again, you're still stuck in the social proof of how many units are sold. Now, bring us up to this moment. All of a sudden, how many Twitter followers you have, how many YouTube subscriber you have, kind of matters less than the level of engagement you have. And that's why we're seeing the rise of services like Clout that say, this is how much noise can you make? If you say a thing and 100,000 people, retweet it to their friends, obviously it doesn't matter if you only have 2 followers. You have the 2 followers that matter, and you have tremendous influence. And that's what advertisers want. They want people who other people trust, so that when the people do their content, they're able to say, no, seriously, I genuinely love Netflix. Please use my code. You'll support me. And that's something that you could never buy before. I mean, I guess you could buy the illusion of it back in the day, but nowadays, going straight to the person, essentially, we're all brand managers for our own content, and that makes us more valuable to advertisers, which keeps afloat operations like these. I
recently spoke to someone, and they do a podcast, and it's a very niche style podcast, and it's a simple home improvement thing that he does. And he was talking, we were corresponding online, and he was telling me, I want to get my viewers up. We have about 1,000 downloaders a week. And the way that he does it is that people donate money to continue the show. Similar to what you're doing, but he's doing it more like, hey, if you want to support the show.
Yeah.
Almost, he said, this is according to him, about 75% of his audience is donating something to him every month. It could be $1 or it could be $10. And I'm thinking, if you're getting $1 from 75% of your audience, that's $750 a month. That's phenomenal.
And think about how little it takes, like the reverse of it. Think about how fatty media operations were 30 years ago. Unbelievably expensive. You had expensive equipment. You had film. You had union labor. You had gaffers, key grips, all this stuff. And even if you wanted to do a show like we're doing right now, you still, in order to get anything decent that didn't look like community access television, you had to spend inordinate amounts of money, which meant that the gap of possibility, right? So it doesn't matter how good your message is, it had to be able to get 3 million people to tune in every week in order for it to work. We're not at that anymore. Now more than ever, the message is all that matters. And because you could be so niche, and because the overhead is so low, it makes possible so much more. For example, I can't help but think about like you do. Are you still doing the hair replacement show?
Yeah, we do the hair loss show, The Bald Truth.
Yeah, there we go. The Bald Truth. That audience is, and I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and bet that worldwide you are the #1 program dedicated to the subject of hair loss. Is that right?
The Bald Truth is the #1 hair loss program in the world for 15 years. For 15 years, #1.
Oh my gosh, you guys have been doing this for 15 years?
I haven't. Spencer's been doing it for 15 years. And his story's fascinating because he started out terrestrial radio, and he was a pay-for-play guy. He got his own sponsors and underwriters to support the show, and it became a syndicated show.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So think about this. Like, if you are an advertiser, like like Pfizer or whatever, and you have a new drug, it's like there's nothing more valuable than this extraordinarily targeted. It doesn't matter if it's only 30, 40,000 people compared to all the millions of watching on television or whatever. These are the most qualified leads you will ever have to bring your ad to them. And that is only possible when you could do a show that hits laughably small numbers in the network television, laughably small in the cable television, but just right for little micro networks like us.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Now, I could talk to you about the sponsorship aspect and the community aspect forever, but I do want to get a little technical with you because we are facing a huge problem here at GFQ. We were using blip.tv for the longest time. They were a partner of ours. They provided us with unlimited bandwidth and unlimited storage and whatever we needed. Company got bought. They're changing the way that they're doing stuff, and they just recently sent out an email to virtually everybody saying that we're discontinuing distribution to iTunes. That's not good because if you are a podcast, a lot of your viewers are coming from iTunes. So what do you do? Now, you guys are hosting the audio, I know, on archive.org.
Correct.
Are you guys doing that with the video as well?
I believe so. I believe both of them. Now, archive.org is, for those of you who don't know, check it out. It's amazing, first of all. It's an amazing playground whose sole stated intention is to preserve the internet for future generations. They got the Wayback Machine where you can look at versions of the websites you love from 1999 or, go to historic times and see right after 2001 what was on them. But they also do this video hosting and audio hosting, and they're largely, I believe, donation funded. I don't see many ads there. So I don't know where their money is coming from, but I know that as part of their mission statement, you can host there for free. Now, it's not the fastest hosting in the world, but again, that's the nice thing about podcasts is it's all offline content. If you want real time, then you'll go watch it on YouTube because it'll load instantly and then you're playing. But if you don't mind, or if you want it offline, that's what podcasting is good for. So it'll be like an overnight kind of download.
What kind of speeds are you getting with it? And this is the problem. I mean, again, you said we're smaller networks, we're smaller brands. Yes, we have a reach and we have an audience, but can we afford to spend $2,000 for, hosting for our video podcast? Because if your show gets popular, guess what? You're going to need to upgrade, and it's going to become a problem.
Well, and I guess that's the big question is if you, man, and first of all, I just typed into the chat. I was asking if anyone knew what speeds they get their stuff from archive.org. I'll tell you, I'm kind of okay with that fact. Yes, what you're describing is definitely a problem for somebody getting started with their storytelling, but it is by definition an extraordinarily good problem to have. And if you have that problem, then it means, as long as you're being smart about how you handle your finances, it means that the pie is now big enough that you could carve out a piece to cover the bandwidth side of things.
It's actually interesting because with audio, I think we've come to the point that we understand how to host it. Even live streaming, right? We've figured out a way to live stream. But when it comes to video hosting, because it's so bandwidth and storage reliant, it's still a major problem for a lot of people. Now, I think we're moving our stuff to archive.org as well. Some of our stuff we're actually going to start testing today to see how it does. I know for the audio, it's actually really fast speeds. We're getting about 5, if a couple of people are downloading, I think people are saying they're getting about 5 megabits, which is actually really good.
I have let's go on a side journey here, as long as we're talking about distribution methods. Recently, Justin TV has changed the way their servers handle stuff. And now, in order to get a smoother experience for everybody at home, they have increased the lag between an event happening and it showing up on Justin TV. The net result is that you get fewer, hiccups and drops or whatever. However, it is agonizing for a comedy show or an interactive show or any kind of talking to the audience kind of show where you say something and there's a full 14 to 16 seconds till somebody's able to give a response to you on there. Like, have you dealt with that, or is there a better option than Justin.tv?
So we use multiple CDNs to distribute all our shows. So we have Dailymotion, we have Vaughn, we have JTV, and we have Ustream. And the reason why we started doing that is to offer different bandwidth and different resolutions on all the different streams.
Right.
But all these companies have become really good at transcoding and doing variable bit rate and different resolutions. Dailymotion does a 240, 380, 480, and 720 stream. Vaughn is not doing it yet. Justin does it on some accounts, and Ustream does it as well. Ustream does it for us. I don't know if they're doing it for everybody. So it's really not necessary to be on every single one to offer something different for everybody, but each one has a very dedicated and connected community. So there are people on Ustream that watch us only on Ustream. They will never watch us anywhere else. Same thing with JTV. Same thing with Vaughn. Daily Motion, not so much because they're just building the live streaming aspect to what they do, but it's kind of become important for us to be on all these different sites because we're able to reach people that we normally wouldn't. So rather than just going to our website to find us, there are people that are stumbling on our show every day just on Ustream. And you know what? Some of them come and go and some of them stick around, but I think that's really good advertising for what you're doing, right? It's a billboard on a major website.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, especially if you can partner with the website and get them excited about featuring you on their front page or getting the word out on it. Yeah, man, no, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. Which of those services is the lowest latency in your opinion?
The latency shifts, and it comes to a couple based on your bandwidth as well. You know, if there's a little hiccup on your side or a hiccup on the computer, the latency will shift. So I noticed with Daily Motion, I'm at about 3 seconds.
What?
Three to 5, and then it could possibly become 10, but most of the time it's pretty stable.
Dude,
I'm doing it right now. So let's do this live on the air. Okay, I put my hand up. Right. 1, 2, 3, 3 seconds.
What? All right, signing up for a Daily Motion account right now. Do you need any kind of special?
Right now, you do. Right now, because it's still in testing. It's only open to a small group of people.
Okay.
If our viewers want to get on Daily Motion, you can send me an email. I could give you instructions on how to do it. I'm actually going to
email address. I'm about to send you an email.
Send it to guysfromqueens@gmail.com, and right. I'll see if whoever I could help. I mean, I think I spoke to them already about your account, but they're really getting into the live streaming aspect. And the reason why I really like them is because they actually give you a piece of the ads. And I know this is something that you have battled, and so do I. When we're on Ustream or JTV, I understand they need to make money. I understand they need to do this to kind of keep offering the service, but it's a little invasive when there's an ad every 15 minutes on Ustream.
Well, and plus also that it's not even like you get to choose when to drop them. I know that like Twitch TV, Man versus Game will do something where he'll say, now we're going to take an ad, and then it plays an ad for a bit. So at least you have control, but like especially in a show that could be electric and you don't know, or maybe your favorite topic's finally coming up and then all of a sudden an ad pops up and you're just raging, which I'm sure is not what they want for the advertisers. The advertisers aren't paying the money so that they can have people actively hate their brands for interrupting this stuff.
Now, and here's the thing. I mean, my dog does not like the ad model, by the way. He does not like looking at ads. He's very upset at it. But I totally understand it, and there are people that get really upset at having the ads, but there are ways around it. You know, there's stuff that we could do, and like I'm not going to pay $1,000 a month to Ustream to have ad free.
Is that what it costs?
Well, a lot more than that at times. I mean, it depends on what you use, depending on the package. But something like Daily Motion, I think the audience understands that the ads have to be there, but they're more comfortable with the fact that you're getting a piece of that ad. So if Daily Motion's giving you half of that ad revenue for every time they go to click on your video, I think they're going to be okay with it because you're actually getting something out of it.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I wonder, how often do the ads pop up on? Are they totally random on Daily Motion as well?
I think they're doing pre-roll, and I believe you could kind of push and schedule your mid-roll.
See,
so you could tell it, okay, push the mid-roll right now.
Yeah, well, in that case, I mean, that's ideal, right? It's like, look, you got to bring some kind of value to the network to do it. I'll tell you what, I wonder also, keep in mind, we talked about the Patreon thing. One of the benefits can be if you hit a certain number on Patreon that will go ad free. It's like it gives us enough money that we can pay Justin TV or whoever or Daily Motion to cut out the ads. So again, you have that fidelity of interest where it's like if somebody wants your show to be ad free so much that they're throwing money at you, you could spend some of that money to make it ad free, and that's definitely something we're trying to look into for Cordkillers. By the way, if anyone works at Justin TV and wants to give me a call, that'd be great.
Yeah, same here too. I mean, I'll take what you guys give, but tell me about the distribution methods. Where are you putting the show? And iTunes obviously, but are you doing anything different when it comes to distribution of the podcast?
It's yes, there are two things we're going to do. First of all, we're also Cordkillers is evolving. We are figuring out what ways are the right ways to monetize stuff, and which ones will get us the greatest visibility. So we're trying to find partners to get the content out, because right now we are speaking and performing for folks who already liked the stuff that we were doing, right? And that's great. We want to capture those hearts, and we want to continue to give them the cord cutting news that they enjoyed before. But if we're going to expand, we need to get the word out for other stuff. And so one of the things that we're doing is we are taking every Monday we do an episode, and we post the full episode as soon as we can as a perk to Patreon subscribers. We do like a talk, basically a spoiler show, which, by the way, I haven't talked to Tom yet, but I want to call it's spoiler in time. And that goes directly to Patreons. Or patrons, that's what they're called. They're patrons immediately after the show comes out on YouTube a couple of days later on the feed for folks who aren't shelling out bucks. But then what we're doing is we're taking, because every time, because this is such a niche subject, there are certain topics that keep coming up. For example, on last Monday's show, we did a story about the court filing for at the Supreme Court for the Aereo case. Aereo is a service, whatever. You'll see all this. And then our guest was like, well, I'm not really familiar with this case. What's the deal with Aereo? What's going on? So we gave like a 3-minute primer on it's like, well, here's why it's legally in limbo. Here's what they're trying to do. Here's why it's going to the Supreme Court. Here's what it would mean for that, and so on. Like, once that discussion ended, that's a valuable little chunk that explains the entire Aereo story. So now, over the course of the week, we're taking out little 3 to 5 minute chunks and posting them as individual files on our YouTube page. The idea being nobody is going to hand around a full hour-plus episode of Cordkillers to all their friends. But if somebody's really into Aereo and happens to watch Cordkillers, then when somebody says, what's Aereo, that's going to be what they drop and embed into their blog posts or forward around to their friends. Like playing the game at 2 levels, the macro level where it's like we make the hour-long content, and then the micro level where we take out chunks of the content that tell individual stories that can be used in all kinds of distributions. It does 2 things. First of all, it gets in and gets out without screwing everyone up in a very short amount of time, which, number 2, informs everyone, and number 3, serves as an advertisement for Cordkillers to come watch the entire show.
Are you putting the entire show on YouTube as well?
Yes. Yes.
See, that's something that we've had many discussions over. Do we want to put the entire show on YouTube, or do we want to drive that to our website that's, kind of everything is being tracked? Or, do we just put clips on YouTube?
I understand the motivation to say, no, we need everyone to go to our portal or whatever. But the harder you drive at that, there are some people who will only live in YouTube. They're like, I don't do podcasts. I will never download iCatcher or Feedburner.
I find that amazing. I actually find that amazing that somebody will go to YouTube and watch, one of our shows. A couple hundred people or a couple thousand people, depending on the episode. But I find that amazing that you're that dedicated to watch it, but you're so involved in the YouTube experience where you don't go anywhere else. I'm guilty of that kind of thing. There's things I'm genuinely dumb about, and I do in a dumb way because it's comfortable. And that's just, it's because think about it this way. I found your show on YouTube. I love your show on YouTube. Every time it comes up, I watch it because I'm subscribed on YouTube. And I understand that there's some other experience you keep talking about, but I can't jump directly to that experience. And I think that's the key. Like if it was download the GFQ app right now and all the episodes are yours, then I might do that. But what I don't want to do is first go look up a podcast situation, because you got to be a podcast guy now. Then once you get it download, and even though you don't know how podcasts work or how to find them, do a search for GFQ Network and then find our stuff. Then you'll see that there's a whole bunch of shows. Make sure to pick the one you like and click it, and then it'll download automatically. And by automatically, you'll just have to every week, you'll open up your podcast, because now you have to be a podcast kind of guy. You have to remember to open that app and then download the stuff or whatever. Like I understand that's enough trouble that I could see somebody saying like, there probably is value there and I probably would like it a lot. However, that sounds like more homework than I want to do. It's right here on YouTube. Maybe I'll just watch YouTube. And this is the importance of being everywhere you can, right? Because people are committed to ecosystems and they don't want to leave that. Right. And it's surprising, like with Dailymotion, for example, we not only do we do our live video, we also archive everything on Dailymotion. It's a giant billboard for me. Am I making money off of the views? Not really. Yes, maybe a little bit off the ads that are placed there, but generally I'm using it as a billboard for all the other stuff that we're doing. But I would not have gotten those couple thousand people if I didn't put it there.
So let's talk about the money side of thing and launching stuff, because I know a lot of the folks who watch IAIB, I can talk, are trying to get started in something. I would say personally, and you can agree or disagree, that if your goal is to get rich and you have no established brand, that it's not going to happen overnight. Like right now, the reason you should be playing the broadcast game on the internet is not to make crazy bank at the moment.
No, absolutely not.
But I would say that that it is still the best time to get in if your goal is to grab some of the free land out here right now. If I guess what I'm saying is this: in the 1970s, nobody got into cable for the money, and in fact, in the 1970s, cable went deregulated, and they just had people who want to do content. You had Ted Turner, who saw this vast wasteland where nobody was watching, and said, "Yes, I shall build here." And then meanwhile, the big networks, your NBC, your CBS, your ABC, they were like, why on earth would we put anything into this? There's no value there. And so meanwhile, it's the early player, it's the early mover who grabs all those hearts and minds. That's where HBO company came out of nowhere, dominates the field. Ted Turner, CNN, first 24-hour cable news network, which nobody watched at first.
But cable changed over the last decade, Brian. I mean, if you think about it, even in the 90s, if you had a show that was on cable, it was still looked down upon.
Oh, sure. As a matter of fact, the cable television was not eligible for the Emmys. They had to do the Cable Ace Awards.
Yeah.
And then finally they went into the Emmys. And now we're seeing digital distribution showing up at the Emmys. So at least it's happening faster. But the point is, early movers grab the space. Late movers get screwed. And in fact, CNBC is well known as a business network right now, but it did not launch as that. CNBC was supposed to be just cable NBC. Hey, man, NBC late to the game looks over and says, oh, I guess people are doing cable. Fine, we'll do CNBC. It'll be NBC on cable. But they showed up too late, and the niche that they wanted to occupy was already filled by like USA Network and TBS and so on. And so because they were late, they had to rebrand, and they're like, well, let's pick a niche that's not filled at all. Let's be the only business 24-hour news station. And that's where CNBC came from. We're seeing the exact same thing happen in the digital space because you've got the players aren't the old media. When I say AMC doesn't have a huge online presence, it's the new guys. It's the Funny or Dies. It's the YouTubes. It's the Dignations. It's the Twit TVs. It's the GFQs that are establishing the territory early on. And if you are in it for the long term, then it's still an extraordinarily good time to be in this game.
What do you see happening this year? Because it seems like 2014 will be a pivotal year for podcasts. A lot of mainstream crossovers happening right now. We started seeing it in 2012, but I feel like 2013 it really got saturated with a lot of pre-existing, celebrities coming over. And a lot of people are worried. A lot of traditional podcasters, the guys that have been doing this for 8 years, from the beginning, are kind of worried that it's going to step on their toes a little bit. I actually think it's a positive for podcasts. I think it's more mainstream exposure to podcasts. And if I'm kind of into what you're saying, Brian, if I'm into just even the Cordkiller movement, now, if I enjoy your show, I'm going to be more inclined to check out another show that kind of talks about the same stuff, and I'm going to discover more stuff.
Well, here's the problem. The problem is what you're describing is a situation where the pie is growing no matter what. Like it's growing for all of us, but it feels, or you notice that your slice of the pie is smaller because so many people are coming in. And I think that's the emotional, visceral thing. First of all, you're right. It's nothing but good that a Joseph Gordon-Levitt, says the future's on television, television is on the internet, and he does these videos or whatever. They are bringing their fans here. But when somebody shows up, like when Joe Rogan launches the Joe Rogan Experience, somebody who's traditionally from television and has his independent program, all of a sudden you might have been number one with 8 million viewers per year or whatever. Now all of a sudden you're number two because he's got 20 million viewers per year. But that's a bigger pie, and it's going to escalate you going to 9 million. It may feel smaller. Your ranking will go from being number one down to say number 40 or whatever because you got so many celebrities above you now. That doesn't matter. What matters is your viewership bigger or smaller? Because all you were enjoying before was the delusion that you were unique and special and better than everyone else. But the only reason it felt that way is because the pond was small. Now the pond got bigger and there are bigger fish around you. Even though you're better off, you may feel like it's smaller, but in which case you just need to get over it because you're still bigger than you used to be. That was like 4 metaphors in there, by the way.
I think they were perfect because I've spoken to people from the Podcast Alley days, you know, before iTunes. And everybody apparently was in the top 10 of Podcast Alley. Everybody. Whoever I've ever spoken to from like the early days of like, you know, I was number 5 on Podcast Alley. But how many people were actually watching? Could have been 500 people. You could have been number 1 with 1,000 people or 2,000 people. Now you could be number 50, like you said, and you could have 10 times that audience.
Yes, and be in every way better off, and yet you'll feel diminished because you got some bogus number that was fake to begin with. That was only a reflection of how small the playing field was. Now we went from ponds to playing fields. Look, it's getting bigger and better for everyone in this business, and it's only going to do more and more as you figure out structurally how to remove make it as efficient as possible from your thoughts, your ideas, your personalities to people who will resonate with that.
Before we wrap up, Brian, because I know you got to get out of here. It's your birthday. Stellar chat room, and a lot of questions are coming in. Also, somebody asked me what you think of using devices like Roku and Apple TV and these distribution platforms for podcasts and stuff that we're doing.
Yeah, well, we're already in talks about getting a Roku app developed. We had a number of people volunteer to help us make that happen. It's like you need to be thinking everything is fragmenting to a level you can't believe. And the people who are going to win are the people who put in the time and the energy and the effort to run around and pick up all the little pieces over here. So imagine, look, as artists, we're all lazy. We want to just do our art and have that be all that is. Those days are dead. Unless you're a megastar, unless you're a Lady Gaga, you can't outsource everything else to someone else and you just do your art. You will have to think like an entrepreneur. You will have to think like a personal brand manager, and you'll have to figure out how to get enough from a bunch of tiny spaces in order to build a pie out of it big enough for you. God, I don't know what it is with me and the metaphors.
A lot of metaphors today. But here's where I see the importance of Roku. Roku is not just for the hardcore enthusiast anymore, right? It's not for the people that are behind the cord cutter and the cord killer movement.
Right.
These are regular people. My mother-in-law has a Roku.
My mother-in-law has a Roku. And in fact, it's the first Roku I used was from my parents-in-laws. And it's like they are the last people I would expect to do a cord cutting device. But to them, it's like, well, this is the thing that puts the Netflix on your TV.
Absolutely.
And that's the way it should be.
And that's amazing because these are regular people, right? Outside of our little bubble, outside of the 100 people that are in the chat room that know how to use this. These are people that just want to turn it on and get it to work. And Netflix has done a tremendous job at making it okay and making it easy for people to consume digital media, online media outside of the cable companies. But for us, like, we have a Roku app. I get emails from people that have never listened to a podcast. These are people that don't know what a podcast is. They just happened to stumble in that app store and they just downloaded the first thing that they saw.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal. And that is what we need. We need non-techies, normal people that don't go, searching iTunes for podcasts to discover our content. And I think that's the biggest problem with audio podcasts, because we don't have that in the car yet. It's not there.
Yes. And although we are getting, you have apps like Stitcher and iCatcher and all these podcast aggregation things. Stitcher's particularly great because it's kind of like a Pandora thing that just sort of says, pretty sure you'll like this. And this is kind of like the other thing.
Yeah, but you know what the problem with that is? You still need, okay, well, I got my phone. Okay, I got the app. I download the app. I signed into the app. Okay, fine. I got to now Bluetooth this to my car. Okay. I got to do that every time I get in, and then I got to find the station. You're
saying to take on like a Sirius XM thing, where like instead of that just built in structurally to the car, you just flip it on,
and Cordkillers is on at 4. Boom! I know the channel to go to.
Yeah. No, I think that's great, and I'll tell you, it's those small structural changes that make an enormous difference in resonating with the population. It's the kind of thing where you would think. you would think it's doesn't matter. Sorry, I'm trying to collect my thoughts here. You would think that such a tiny difference would not impact people, because after all, if they like the content, they can still get the content. They can go there directly or whatever. But there is a tremendous difference, as we just discussed, with staying inside the YouTube ecosystem versus having to walk outside that ecosystem. And I think whoever cracks that is going to derive a significant benefit, because it's great being able to watch and listen to what you want, when you want, whenever you want it. But I'll tell you what, like, I'm dealing with it right now. My friend Andrew Main just launched a show on A&E called Don't Trust Andrew Main. And the first 2 episodes are available free on aetv.com. In my own living room with my in-laws there, I realized that they're going to leave in like 10 minutes, and I want to show them some of the show. And I was like, what's the fastest, easiest way to put this on in the living room? And I realized I've got an Xbox, I got all these iDevices, I've got laptops or whatever. And because there wasn't a simple way to just throw the content from this one, because Xbox, you need a specific app, and A&E Television didn't happen to have an app on the Xbox, so I wasn't able to do it. My wouldn't help with an Apple TV. And eventually I just had to run to the other room, grab my laptop, come back, plug in the HDMI, open the website, and do it. And as I was doing it, I was thinking, just stupid. This is so stupid. I'm spending 5 full minutes just to set this up so they can watch a bit of television. It's like, why is this not built into televisions? Why is this not built into one box that can do everything? So in that regard, it was extremely frustrating. But in another regard, it's only going to get better, man. I mean, and of course, that's what Cordkillers is all about.
I think this year is going to be there's going to be a big movement to kind of abandon this cable model. I'm one of these people, and I'm really into the entire movement to get rid of cable, because my cable bill is about $300 a month. Ugh. And we got a ton of cable boxes in the house, and we got a TV in every room, and that's my own stupidity. But I've noticed my wife and we don't really watch any network television. We really don't watch anything live anymore. Everything all the media that we're consuming is online or via, Apple TV or Roku, Netflix, Hulu, whatever it is.
Right.
And I think a lot of people face the same problem with, I'm going to miss something if I cut this, right? If I get rid of cable, I'm going to miss whatever it is. And we've added up the hours. We probably watch 45 minutes of cable television a day.
Yeah,
at most.
Here's the crazy part is once you cut the cable, once you cut the cord, you will immediately find other ways to occupy that. Because think about it, $300 a month, if that is just your cable bill. I know for me, I was paying like $215, and that was bundled television, phone, and internet. And now I've dropped 2 of those. I have Uma for my phone service for the landline. Yes, I still have landline. I got kids. Shut up. The internet is $99, and we don't have cable, which means I'm saving $120 a month, basically, which means with a budget of $120 a month, you can buy so many episodes of everything you want.
Anything and everything, yeah.
You will never spend $120 a month on individual episodes at $1.99 an episode. 60 shows, 60 programs. If it's out there and you could buy it, it's yours instantly, and you'll be fine. So now it's like I just buy a season of Archer, or I get a season pass for whatever. It's amazing how quickly you get around it.
A lot of people hang on to it due to sports. I'm kind of a sports guy. I watch it. I'm not a crazy sports guy. I watch the Super Bowl. But for me, like, for example, the WWE is doing something really groundbreaking in the sense that they're taking their archives, everything that they have, and I think they have over 100,000 hours. They're putting it all on their online network, plus they're offering live, and they're going to have a live schedule, and they're putting their pay-per-views on there. This is something that I really didn't see happening right now due to all the ties to the networks, and kind of the networks. If you're on television, guess what? They kind of have you. And they kind of dictate what you're going to do, because if your contract is about to re-up, they may not give you that $100 million 5-year deal.
Right.
Can you see the other major franchises doing that? The NFL kind of saying, okay, we're going to say hell with this. We're going to put everything online.
I certainly see them using the threat of this immediately, but I think truthfully we're a few years out from seeing it actually happen. But we're already seeing stuff nibbling at the edges. Although I will say right now, big sports is very much in the pockets of the broadcast networks,
and there's money because they all make money.
Yeah, no, and for the moment, but then again, they know that it's coming down the pike. You know, it's like HBO is starting to experiment on the sides with like they did Nordic HBO in Norway only. You could sign up for just HBO digitally sent over for like $8 a month or whatever. And you're also starting to see them put massive efforts into HBO Go is a fantastic service where pretty much if anything HBO ever did is available instantly to stream on your phone or your mobile device or your iPad or your Xbox or whatever, give or take. But it requires an authentication with the cable company. So that seems to be the fig leaf where like nobody wants to say, oh, we're going direct because cable companies will be super pissed. So instead they're like, okay, well, we're going to do this, but all they have to do is authenticate with you and it's just an extra service. So now your cable looks even better, except for I think what's going to happen as we see more of those authentication-based services happen, we're going to see a virtual cable company that never lays a single piece of copper, but buys virtual rights to let people cable authenticate without actually doing it. And it might be Dish, because Dish is doing all kinds of crazy stuff, kind of giving the middle finger to the other cable companies because they're being third or fourth place. They kind of have nothing to lose.
I think with Dish, you could actually, if you have a Dish subscription, you could use the Dish app and watch it anywhere, right? I think that's how they're doing.
And that's just it, is there are people who get a Dish subscription and never bother with the Dish. They only use the digital stuff.
Yeah, and I think that's great too.
There are services that are like, hey, we will rent you a Dish. So you can use Dish Network and Slingbox style your content to any device you want. So like right now, everyone knows the change is coming. And we're in that weird kludgy Rube Goldberg time where technically by the law or to keep this guy happy or whatever, we have to pretend like we're doing it this way. But really, we're cutting cable out in the middle. And cable's just trying to figure out a way to hold on to as many customers as it can.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it'll ever go away. Even in 10, 20 years, I don't think the concept of cable is going to go away. But I do think they're going to have to change. They're going to have to evolve in order to keep their subscriptions.
Yes.
I think the cable 100%. As we know it will be totally different. But I do think people are still going to be, we're just conformed to the idea of sending this bill every month and getting this stuff on the TV, and that's it.
Yeah, and I would imagine that cable likes it that way.
They love it.
I would imagine that they're not thrilled with changing stuff up, but it's going to happen. I mean, there's a freaking revolution happening, and Cordkillers is where you can watch it all happen.
Phenomenal show, by the way. I know we got to wrap it up, but tell the audience, for people who don't know Cordkillers, which I'm imagine 99% of our audience already does, and they watch it, but let's pretend they don't. Where can they get information? How can they help you guys out? When are you doing the shows?
Cordkillers.com is where you could go. Cordkillers.com/live is where you can watch us record live every Monday at 5:30 Central Time. And you can subscribe on the website. You can, of course, get it on iTunes or any of those other stuff. If you like the show so much, you want to throw us a couple of pennies, and I mean like literally pennies. I get excited when somebody pledges a nickel or a quarter per episode. I'm like, great, all of that stuff matters. Not as excited as when people pledge $5 an episode, though. And all at cordkillers.com, and I think you'll dig it.
Of course, NSFW show also. NSFW show. Sir.
Yeah, every Tuesday night on the Twit Network, me and Justin Robert Young do some comedy nonsense. And I'll tell you what, man, the biggest show, like overnight in the last year, Scam School's numbers on YouTube have exploded. Like if you want to learn some bar tricks to score free drinks, head on over to youtube.com/Scam School.
Phenomenal. Brian Brushwood, everybody, you can follow him on Twitter at Schwood. We're going to have all the information in our show notes when we post this. It should be posted within a day or two. Probably by the end of tonight, we'll have it on GFQ, and probably by the weekend, we'll have it on the IAIB. You can catch it there. We're on iTunes, wherever our podcasts are available. So subscribe to us. You can follow me on Twitter at Andrew Zarian. If you are an internet broadcaster, if you are a podcaster, and you want to meet other people, and you want to learn more about this, because we're all learning as we're doing it, go to their website, ibroadcastnetwork.org. That's ibroadcastnetwork.org. You can sign up, Membership is free. We don't charge anything for you to sign up. We also have a phenomenal message board there, phenomenal forum, over 1,000 people on there, a lot of experts, a lot of industry people, always looking to help people. It's a great little community we got there, and I'm really proud of the people that are involved, and they're supporting other people, and they're emailing people. It's become its own little machine where I'm not even doing anything. I just show up and I read the forum post, so it's unbelievable. And that's it, guys. We'll see y'all next week on the IAIB Spotlight. Good night, everybody.